When Dennis first came, he was advocating for us to get back together. He said he talked to Ralph, which Ralph told me they talked and asked for his blessing, and Porsha.
Shamea, at your party, you just blunted it out. Like, are you
Absolutely.
Are you
Dennis?
Dennis?
I didn't
What
say
is that?
effing.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 16, Episode 2. And before we get into it, let me start off by saying, Porsha, you are reaching. To say that you are grasping at straws is an understatement, and I just want to know, what exactly are you upset about? Because honestly and truly, it looks like you're bothered about Drew and Dennis being around each other. And if that's the case, then just say that. But these reasons that you're giving us, they're not adding up. The math ain't mathin'. And I thought it was hilarious when you said at the end of this episode that you can't get loyalty from people. And I said, I'm sorry, Porsha, but you are the wrong person to be discussing loyalty from anybody. And one more thing. I know that folks are not loving the new girls, but I think that the new girls are bringing something, especially Kelli with her story about this divorce. And Miss Kelli, we will be discussing that because, girl, talk about a clear example of why you don't marry down as a woman. And I've said this many times before, but a man who has nothing will help you lose everything. And when Kelli talked about her divorce and what that man did to her, I said, okay, a clear example of that. She married a jealous bum. There's no way around that. And I have a lot more to say about that, so just sit tight. But without further ado, let's get right on into it because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. So we open up this episode right where we left things off last week with Shamea questioning Drew about, is Drew dating Dennis? So of course Drew's dramatic and she's like, what? And Shamea's like, well, I'm asking because 3 people came up to me saying that they saw y'all at the club holding hands, wearing matching outfits. So we cut to Cynthia's confessional, and when I tell you Cynthia had me screaming, she was like, let's be clear, I better not find out that any one of these ladies is booed up in matching outfits with Peter Anthony Thomas. And I said, now Cynthia, respectfully, you don't have to worry about that. And I don't even think that Peter could afford to get you a matching outfit. It's no shade. So now Cynthia goes down the list of her exes and she says, I don't want to see anybody with Leon in a matching outfit. And please don't be in a matching outfit booed up with James Michael Hill. Now, a quick side note. Because at first I was confused when she said James. I said, who's James? And you know how Cynthia kind of mumbles sometimes? I thought she said James Earl Jones. And I was like, when was she married to him? Hasn't he passed on? I swear to y'all, I had no idea who she said because I had no idea that Mike Hill's first name is James. I thought his first name was Michael. So he goes by his middle name, not his first name. And again, Cynthia, I don't think you have to worry about anybody being booed up in matching outfits with James Michael Hill, whatever name he goes by. Because wasn't Mike Hill cheating? But then again, you know, some of the girls don't mind a bit of cheating. There are a lot of women out there who feel like a piece of a man is better than no man. Not me though, y'all be safe. But yeah, either way, I don't think you have to worry about anybody in this group getting with any of your exes. I think you're safe. So we cut right back to the group and Shamea says, you've been in the music industry for how long? Why Dennis? Now, that is a legit question because I asked the same thing in my last recap. Like, out of all the people in Atlanta, and who knew that Dennis was in the music industry in the first place? Because I didn't know that. I thought he only did hot dogs. So Drew says that her and Porsha talked about it, and Porsha cuts in and says, no, we didn't. So now Drew says, yes, we did. And now Porsha jumps back in and says, me and Dennis were on the phone talking about Pilar. And then he had said, oh yeah, by the way, you can come to Drew's birthday party. And then she says that she had already wiped off her makeup, so that's why she wasn't at the party. Now, do I believe that excuse? No. Porsha just did not want to come after she saw the headlines about Drew and Dennis working together or low-key dating. I think that she was like, you know what, I'll pass. So now Porsha throws some light shade and she says, yeah, the next day you posted up a picture And I was like, oh, she looks washed. So now Drew says, oh yeah, you're right about that because my makeup artist, I didn't have makeup on that night. So mind you, production pulls up the picture of Drew on her birthday and Drew has a full face of makeup. And I said, that's one of those Mia type lies from Potomac. That was such a stupid lie. And I feel like I've always been really fair with Drew. Like, Drew does not bother me the way she bothers other people. I think that she's been a pretty good addition to the show, but those lies are where she loses me. Because why lie about something so trivial and stupid? So now Porsha starts talking about how she knows that it was stress because anybody going through a divorce understands that. So now Porsha adds that the next day she did call Drew. She asked her if she was okay. And then Drew brought up Dennis. Porsha goes on to say, let me preface this by saying that I don't care. So now Britt and Kelli are in the background and they're like, well, it seems like you do care. And now we cut to Porsha's confessional where she says that when she saw the news on the blogs about they're allegedly together or working together, she says she kept scrolling and then made dinner because she does not care. And I said, now, in my humble opinion, when you truly don't care about something, you don't need to keep saying that you don't care. I think that there are still feelings there when it comes to Dennis. And that's why you wanted to fight him and his mother on your show.
What I said,
At the end of the day, I don't feel any ways about Drew and Dennis working together. I honestly don't care. So now Shamea jumps in and she's holding her phone and she's like, you guys walk through the club holding hands? And Drew says, no, that's a lie. So Drew explains how their partnership got started. She says that a while back, she opened up for Tamar Braxton and Dennis had reached out to her management team about her hosting the official after party. So she goes on to say that Dennis did this whole professional pitch about her music, and on top of that, Dennis has been her angel on earth. So it was funny because even Angela was like, now Drew, why would you say that? Like, girl, that don't sound right. And one thing about Porsha, when she's going back and forth with you, or she's upset with you, doesn't like you, she's very dismissive and sarcastic. So when Drew said that, she's like, oh, well, that's beautiful. And I'm like, Porsha, you don't really have a leg to stand on for you to be so upset when the way you got with your husband, Simon, was under very questionable circumstances. I don't really think that you have the right to be so rude and nasty to Drew. I'm just saying. So now Drew says, I did ask Dennis if you talked to him. He said that you guys talked and you gave him your blessing. So Porsha's like, no ma'am, that never happened. Y'all both have to stop lying about me to each other. So now Drew starts pleading her case that nothing's going on and she says, look, I look at Dennis as a brother, and that man loves you, and I would never want you to think for a minute that I'm dealing with your baby daddy behind your back. So now Porsha says, let's set Dennis aside for a minute because you can marry him, F him, or kill him. I really don't care. And I said, oh, really? You won't care if she marries or Fs him? Because you're getting awfully upset at her working with him. So let's not say that you don't care if she marries or Fs him because I feel like you'll be very upset if that were to happen. So anyhow, Porsha delivers this monologue about how she's done nothing but root for Drew and how she's been a friend to Drew. She made her an ambassador of Go Naked Hair. And then she says, but you're a low down, dirty individual. I said, Porsha Williams, you're calling somebody low down?
No.
Hate to break it to you, but I think that Porsha is the wrong person to call anybody low down and dirty. So Porsha is rambling on and on about how ever since this phone call took place, Drew's done some low down stuff to her. And then she turns to production and she's like, can I break the fourth wall for a moment? And production says, break it. So when I tell you I was so disappointed, because if you're going to ask production to break the fourth wall, Can you please drop some juicy receipts? Because this fell so flat. We find out that Drew had been asking if Dennis would film some scenes with her. And that's why she's so upset. I said, girl, you did all that about can I break the fourth wall to tell us that? Oh, I mean, I'm not surprised that Drew did that. They're making music together, so it wouldn't be a surprise. That's not such earth-shattering news. So Drew denies it, and Porsha's like, I have the receipts, I have the text messages. So now we see Porsha's confessional, and the producer's like, so are you upset because you feel like that's a good friend sneaking around with your baby's father? And Porsha says, no, it's not that deep. I'm pissed because the bitch is going around trying to film with my baby daddy. So Porsha's biggest gripe is the fact that Drew never asked Porsha if she could film with Dennis. And then she says that her wanting to film with him complicates her life. And I said, wait. So Drew filming with Dennis complicates your life, but not you getting with Simon when you were friends or friendly with his ex-wife Fallon. That whole situation wasn't messy or complicated enough, but this is. So here's where Porsha made absolutely no sense. She brings up the second reason why she's mad at Drew. She says that Drew went behind her back asking production if they would film her photo shoot for Porsha's brand Go Naked Hair. When I tell you I was confused, I'm still confused. Everybody else was confused because if Drew is the ambassador for your hairline, wouldn't you be excited and happy that the ambassador is offering to do a photo shoot out of their pockets to promote your line? That is a win-win for you. So why are you upset? So Porsha's like, are you crazy? Nobody asked you to do that. You have a contract to wear the hair. And I said, I'm sorry, Porsha, you sounded so dumb because I don't understand why you're mad at your brand ambassador setting up a photo shoot to promote your hair brand. That puts more money in your pockets. Porsha is mad because of Dennis and Drew working together, and she's in her feelings because she's worried that they actually might be dating because she still has feelings for that man. That's the long and the short of it. So Drew is lost. She's like, are you serious right now? Then she says, I'm taken aback because I considered Porsha to be a friend. So Shamea is like, all right, can we go back downstairs and enjoy my party? Let's have some cake. And I said, I know that's right because I know that Shamea and Gerald paid a good coin for this party. And Shamea's party looked lit because we see them bring the cake out, then they're outside by the pool, they all jump in the pool, and now it turns into a foam party. We see Shamea twerking. I said, girl, yes. When I tell y'all, I love the fact that Shamea is a full-time housewife. So we jump on over to Angela Oakley, and we see her at home. She's in the kitchen with her daughter, and her husband, Charles Oakley, is cooking. Now, a quick side note. You know who she reminds me of? Remember that Tyler Perry show, The Haves and the Have-Nots? She low-key reminds me of Veronica Harrington. So anyhow, we see Angela having a glass of wine with her daughter, and Angela's like, oh, honey, do you want some wine to Charles? And did anybody think it was weird when Charles said, no, I don't drink white wine. I don't think that a man should drink sweet wine unless he's away. I was like, what? So Angela lets us know that her man played for the Bulls and the Knicks. And she goes on to say that he cooks, he cleans, he's a dream come true. I said, really? I mean, I guess, girl. Angela seems like she's very starstruck by her own husband. Because in last week's episode, I made a mental note about that weird comment she made when she said, oh yeah, my husband's the legendary Charles Oakley, put some respect on his name. I said, girl, what? Nobody's impressed. Nobody cares. He played basketball in what, the 80s and 90s? Girl, we have moved on. It's all about LeBron and his son, Steph Curry, James Harden. Like, we're talking about what's now. It's no shade. But the way she talks about Charles, it's almost like oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm married to him. You know what I'm saying? And Charles seems so moody and grumpy. That is not my idea of a dream come true. I don't think that there is anything worse than a moody man. No thank you, I'll pass. So here's where I need all of us to do some math, right? We find out they have 4 kids together, a 24-year-old daughter. Now, mind you, I thought it was interesting when she said Charles has Charles Jr. So does that mean that he had Charles Jr. with another woman? I thought that wording was interesting. Then they have another son who's 11 and another daughter who's 7. So when she said the kids' ages, I said, okay, a 24-year-old and an 11-year-old, but only married for 8 years. I said, all right. But here's where I was really confused. When she says that they met at a party in Chicago, we don't know the year, but we can assume that it was in the 90s, right? She says they exchanged numbers, and then she says she never heard from him again for another 10 years. So I said, wait, are you saying that he ghosted you for 10 years? Angela, you need to explain this because I'm baffled. So she goes on to say that they reconnected because they became neighbors, they lived in the same condominium, and she says it's like it was destined to happen. I said, was it destined or was this desperation? Because it's giving me long-suffering girlfriend who wanted this man by any means. Now, I did love hearing about how successful Angela is on her own. She says that she owns her own financial consulting company and she is in the process of flipping and renovating 5 houses. And we also learned that she's a self-made millionaire. So I said, well, that's good to know. Now I have to ask, does Charles Oakley still have his money? Because I'm just saying, I think it's interesting that he decided to get married very late in life. And if she's a millionaire, he might be thinking, well, you know what? Let me get married to her. Because some of these older men are looking for a nurse with a purse. Because he's what? He's 61. He's no spring chicken. So I'm just like, Angela, I hope that your money is safe and secured and tucked away. So Angela's telling her daughter all about Shamea's party the other night. She's like, Shamea's home is exquisite and she got a brand new Rolls Royce. So now she goes on to talk about the drama between Drew and Porsha, how Drew is working with Porsha's ex, and she says that she sees both sides. So now she makes a joke saying that if her and Charles were exes, she'd feel a way if the ladies were working with him. So Charles says, I'm not going to work with those lames. I said, well, damn. So now we get one of the best scenes of the episode. We have Kenya and Porsha meeting up for lunch. And mind you, they both pull up in their Rolls Royces. And remember how Simon was trying to snatch Porsha's Rolls Royce because he bought it for her? But yeah, honey, she said, no, not today. This is still my car and I will still be driving it. Thank you very much. Now, anyhow, they sit down and my heart bursts with happiness and sadness because we finally see Porsha and Kenya as friends hanging out, having a cute key together, and Kenya gets fired because of some foolishness with a newcomer. I was so irritated because this scene could have been one of several amazing one-on-one scenes with Porsha and Kenya. And the fact that we're not getting any confessionals with Kenya, it's upsetting. I don't care what anybody says. I'm annoyed. But anyhow, they're making small talk. Kenya says that she wants an espresso martini. And Porsha's like, why? Do you want to stay up tonight? And Kenya says, I sure do because I had to put Brooklyn to bed and she loves coming into my room to sleep. And then she goes on to ask if Pilar does the same thing with Porsha. So Porsha says, no, ma'am, because I had a night nurse train her to sleep in her own bed. So now we cut to Porsha's confessional and she says that throughout the years, her and Kenya have always had a love-hate relationship, but after having kids, they've had a newfound respect for each other. And then she makes a joke saying that they're old and why keep fighting each other? And not to get off topic, but I always hated the way Kenya and Porsha went at it because they really could have been friends the whole time. So I guess Porsha sounded a bit stuffed up and Kenya notices it. And she's like, wait, do you have a cold or something? And Porsha's like, girl, when you left the party the other night, we all jumped into the pool. So now Kenya makes a joke and she's asking if Porsha pushed Drew in the pool too. And Porsha laughs and says, I would never. So now they get on the topic of Drew and Dennis. And Kenya brings up how when she spoke to Drew the other day, Drew did mention how she works with Dennis now. And then she says, I was so confused because I'm like, I never knew that Dennis was into music. And now Porsha interjects and says that Dennis did produce a kids album for their daughter Pilar. So now Kenya goes on to say that Drew told her that Porsha gave them her blessing. And Porsha's like, look, as somebody who's her friend, I just go along with it because I never know what she's going to say or do. And since I root for her, I just go along with it. And I said, Porsha, all the things that you say and do, because don't act like you've been such a great friend to other people. You've been just as low down, trifling, sneaky. So for you to be so appalled that somebody else is playing by your same playbook, stop. So Porsha says what really set her off was finding out that Drew was trying to film with Dennis. And then she says, look, the bottom line is Dennis and I co-parent. She doesn't want Dennis to film anything that could compromise their growth. And I said, oh, really? I just find it to be comical that Porsha is acting like she is a saint because, girl, you have filmed a lot of questionable things throughout your time on this show. So Porsha claims that Dennis is a brother to her at this point. And I said, are you sure about that? Because the way you act about that man is giving that the feelings are still there. Porsha going on and on about how her family is vulnerable right now and Drew should be trying to protect her as a friend. I said, who do you protect as a friend? I'll wait. And I'm pretty sure that Fallon's family was vulnerable too when you came in there and messed with Simon. All right? So now Kenya brings up Simon and Porsha and she says, wait, I see you spinning the block with your Rolls Royce that your estranged husband claimed that he took from you. So they start laughing about that. And they bring up all of Simon's Instagram posts. Simon is one of the biggest attention whores. And I can assure you that if Simon were not detained by ICE, he would be on Instagram and YouTube right now talking about this current season. A lot of these men are clout chasers, even at their big ages. Because isn't Simon like 60 years old? Sir, get off of Instagram. And it also shows me that Simon has always been stingy. Because what do you mean you want your car back? You don't ask for a gift back. I don't care if you guys do break up. A gift is a gift. When I tell you that Miss Kenya wanted all the tea, she's like, how did y'all get to this place? So Porsha says that she had no idea that there were certain things he was lying to her about. One time they were on the jet and they were surrounded by police. It got really scary. I said, come again? If I'm on a private jet and we're surrounded by police, that's going to be my last time ever hanging around you because you obviously have some other stuff going on that I want no parts of.
Oh! Shout out to everybody. I had fun. I gotta be good.
So Porsha says that she asked him, what is this? What's going on? And he told her that because he sat in a stolen car one time, that's why he's being harassed by the police. And when you have a green card, you can't be caught up in any nonsense. So now I thought that Porsha was the fourth wife. No, she's the fifth wife. I said, what? Even Kenya was like, girl, what? The fifth wife? Porsha, let me just ask you something. When you saw that this man had been married several times, you honestly thought in your pea brain, you looked at Simon and said, oh wow, he'd make a great husband. This is why I can't find any sympathy or empathy because this is just stupidity at its finest. The red flags were glaring from the start. And let's be so for real. A man who's been married that many times is clearly not marriage material. So the fact that Porsha thought that she'd be skipping off into the sunset happily ever after for the rest of her life is a joke. Porsha thought that she was about to get the Shamea special and baby, you found out the hard way that you got the complete opposite. Nothing about Simon screamed good husband. So now Porsha says that after she filed for divorce, she got a notification on her phone and the cameras in the living room were still on and she saw that Simon had women over the house. Porsha, don't be upset because you were over there zipping it and zooing it in Fallon's house. So girl, not too much being so upset that he had women over the house right after you guys filed for divorce. Porsha going on and on about how she just knew that Simon was her person when she wrote her book. I forgot all about that book. I said, wait, she wrote a book? And I was like, oh yeah, she did write one. Did any of you guys read it? Let me know. Was it any good? But yeah, here's me playing the world's tiniest violin. I don't have anything for Porsha in this divorce. You knew that man was up to no good. You did not care because you thought that you hit the jackpot. And now here we are, and we can just move on along. This short scene with Kelli was cute. She's with her publicist and her project manager. They're in the space where her new restaurant is going to be. And mind you, it's a bigger space. So she wants to have the grand opening in July, and her project manager is like, girl, we have a long way to go. I don't see that happening. We still need to have this place renovated. The kitchen needs to be up and running. We need the permits. Like, it's a lot. And God bless anybody who owns a restaurant, wants to own a restaurant, because that is some work. So now Kelli shares that she does not come from a culinary background. She learned how to cook from her mom and her grandmother, and that she opened up her first Nana's Chicken and Waffles in 2016. So when I tell you, I was shocked when she said, we have one location open right now, but the first location was shut down by my ex-husband. I said, excuse me? What do you mean he shut your first location down? And Kelli, the way I'm about to read your ex-husband for filth, in that next scene with you and Brit, just hold on, I got you. So Kelli goes on to say that her goal is to build generational wealth, and then she says that her ex-husband has not paid child support unless it's been court ordered. But it seems like Kelli's ex-husband put her through hell and is still putting her through hell right now. I'm not even gonna hold you. We can skip right past Brit's scene. It wasn't interesting, I don't care, and I don't see any chemistry between her or her husband. I tried to bite my tongue in the last episode, but I'm so sorry. I don't see any connection. Brit just seems to be happy to have a ring on her finger and say that she's a wife. And it's no shade, but I just don't see husband and wife when I look at them. I don't. Now we get to a very touching scene, and Shamea really checks off all the boxes because not only does she meet all the qualifications of a real housewife, but there's a robust storyline there. We see Shamea with her surrogate who carried Shiloh, and I thought it was so beautiful because she came in with this gorgeous bouquet of flowers. And mind you, Shamea's surrogate Shadina had breast cancer. So we learn that while Shadina was carrying Shiloh, she was diagnosed with breast cancer around 32 weeks. So she had to deliver Shiloh immediately. So now Shamea says that she felt responsible in a way because she's like, well, did this pregnancy cause her to have breast cancer because of the hormones? And now Shadina says that she felt like a failure because she felt like, well, am I the reason why your baby has health issues? So when I tell y'all, seeing them get choked up about that, I got choked up because I hate to hear about a baby having health issues. And then on top of that, you have two women who feel guilty about something that was out of their control. And I just felt bad to hear that. So remember in the first episode when Shamea said that she's been going through it, trying to build her family? We learn even more. She reveals that she's done several rounds of IVF. It's been horrible. And then we find out that she had an ectopic pregnancy, and she says that it was the scariest thing ever. So she says that she felt some sharp pains, went to the hospital, and then when she sat down in the wheelchair, blood gushed out everywhere. I was like, oh my goodness. My heart broke. Shamea brings up how she gets upset with how Black women are treated, especially when it comes to the maternal mortality rate. And she goes on to say that people don't take us seriously. And this is why when Dr. Jackie made those comments some years ago saying that Black women are too dramatic. That's why that was really hurtful and painful, because of things like this. And I'm not even going to hold y'all. When I hear about how taxing pregnancy is on the body, and then you hear that doctors are not listening to Black women, and how the maternal mortality rate is just off the charts, it does have me feeling like, you know what? I'll be okay if I don't have children. And I really do mean that. Like, I'm not somebody who's going to be distraught, you know? Like, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, that's great too. I'll still have a great life, you know? But when I hear things like this, it's like, you know what? Maybe not, you know? Because, whew, it's a lot. Shout out to all the mothers, like, for real. Y'all really deserve everything and then some. And then add tax. Because hearing all this and, yeah. And Shamea's story just broke me. And the surrogate story broke me. I was like, thank God they're here and they're alive and well. So I was surprised when Shamea said that she has 4 embryos left, 2 girls and 2 boys, and she still wants to grow her family. I said, oh, okay. I'd be too traumatized after going through all of that. And they've been through this back to back to back. So you would not be able to look at me and talk about another kid after all that we've been through. But again, just my 2 cents, just my thoughts. So now we jump on over to Brit and Kelli. They're hanging at Kelli's house. And Brit says that she met Kelli through a mutual friend and they became close. Now, a quick side note, it's always so funny when these women start off so close. And then when the season wraps, they're no longer friends. Because Kelli and Shamea no longer like Brit. She's on the outs with both of them. It's going to be real interesting when this reunion comes around. So now they start talking about Brit and her husband, and we find out that Brit and her husband Mike got married during COVID. So there was no ceremony or reception. They went straight to the courthouse because being a wife was more important to her than a celebration. So now Brit makes a joke and she says, and guess what? You don't have to worry about me being 3 hours late. And of course she's throwing shade about how Porsha came to Shamea's party late. So then they bring up the drama between Drew and Porsha, and Brit's like, yeah, she was going in on Drew. And now Brit brings up how Drew came to her and said that she had heard that her and Kelli were starting drama. So Kelli's like, no, that's not what happened. I just asked what we all wanted to know. And I said, Kelli, you did eat that one little thing because you stood on business and you made it very clear that you were not backing down. You said it behind Porsha's back and you said it to her face. Why did you take that lady's husband? And a quick side note, while I do find that phrase to be problematic because you can't steal anybody, the person wanted to leave, okay? But nobody can deny that this situation with Porsha, Fallon, and Simon was messy. Brit, you bringing up the wedding band comment was ridiculous. It was not that deep. That's a legit question. Are you engaged or are you married? If I see a woman with only an engagement ring on, I'm going to assume that she's engaged. You didn't have your wedding band on. So that was a legit question to ask. Oh, are you married or engaged? Why are you so pressed about that? It's clear that you were gunning for Kenya from the beginning. Because I don't understand how one simple question has you spiraling out of control like this. So now Brit says, while we're on the subject of divorces, since I'm your friend, I always wanted to know a bit more about your divorce, but I did not want to press you on the issue. So Kelli reveals that there was cheating and that man stole $500,000 out of the company's account. I said, hold on, wait a minute, come again. He did what? So we find out that Kelli had to sue him to get the money back. Then we learned that she was on a trip to Tulum when her accountant called her and said, oh yeah, the money's gone. He wiped out the account. So she goes on to say that she had to leave the house because it was no longer safe to stay there. I said, oh my gosh, she married the devil himself. She says that things got physical. It was a nasty situation. Police were called numerous times. I said, oh my gosh. Now I want to say shout out to the good folks on Twitter because one of y'all did the Lord's work by finding out what that man looks like. I'm going to show you the picture right now. This was a picture of them on their wedding day. I could have told you right then and there that that man would be an absolute piece of you-know-what. This is why women need to get with men who are equally yoked. Because not only is he funny looking as all get out, but on top of that, he has the nerve to be abusive and a thief and a cheater? No, ma'am. I want to know, how did they even meet in the first place? Did he act like he has some money? And even still, absolutely not. And respectfully, this is just me. I've never been the type that could fake attraction just because somebody has money. I know that a lot of women are able to do that, but not me. I need to be attracted. It's a must. But the fact that he didn't have either, he didn't have money or looks, I'm like, my God, goodness. I can see why Bronwyn on SLC puts up with Todd, because he has some money. But Kelly's ex-husband, I'm like, my God. And did you see that ill-fitting suit on their wedding day? That right there should have told you everything you needed to know. My mom would have pulled me to the side and said, are you out of your effing mind? I'm calling this wedding off. I guess it's safe for me to assume that my theories about her husband were correct. In my last recap, I said, it's giving jealous bum. It's giving a Wendy Williams, Kevin Hunter tease, where he feels a way that she's the breadwinner, she's the brains and the beauty of the operation, and he's just there. And it looks like I was right, because only bums operate like this. I think it's just so sad that they have 4 daughters, and this clown wants his daughters to see that that's how he treats their mother. Just disgusting. Just really sad to hear that Kelly had to deal with all that. Sleeping in her closet at one point, police being called, emptying out the accounts. It's a true testament that she's made it as far as she has, despite going through all that hell. But women, especially my Black women, remember that you are the prize. You are worth it. Do not let desperation or the fear of being single have you out here dating a man who is not on your level and is trying to tear you down, because it happens all the time. And remember, a man with nothing to lose will help you lose everything. And I know a lot of y'all who watch me are successful. I have doctors, I have nurses, I have lawyers, I have teachers, I have entrepreneurs. I have a whole lot of y'all who are doing well. Do not get with the loser. You've worked too hard. You've accomplished too much. Do not allow some man to come on in and ruin everything that you have, okay? So now we see Drew at the gym. She's with her personal trainer. She wants to get a workout in, and she's invited Angela and Shamea. So we see Angela pull up, and we find out that Angela and Drew have been friends now for 3 years, and they have kids around the same ages. So Angela's talking to Drew about the party, what went down, and she's like, Drew, this whole thing with you and Dennis, really, of all the people in Atlanta? And Drew pretty much says, look, I've worked with so many legends, and my music career is still not where I want it to be. So when Dennis came to me, I said, why not? So now Drew brings up how Porsha attacked her the other night at Shamea's, and now she says that Dennis has been an advocate of her and Ralph getting back together. So now Angela starts asking questions about their separation, and she's like, is this the longest you've been separated? So Drew says no, they had not been separated before, but they would have arguments, but it wasn't until he moved out the bedroom, that's when they filed for divorce. So at this point, Drew starts crying and Angela goes over to hug her. And another reason why I keep stressing to the ladies to stop marrying these men who are not on your level, because Ralph is another bum. We find out that this idiot has been taking large sums of money out of her account. He's asking for alimony and child support, percentages of her businesses. I said, what? Not the same man who said that he was in tech and he made money on his own. Not the successful businessman. Now you're taking money out of her account and requesting for alimony and child support. I know that inflation is high and eggs are $12 a carton, but I will never be on board with men asking women for money. Absolutely not. You were over there running off to Tampa, gaslighting her, a full-blown narcissist, but yet you want to have your hands in her pockets. No, sir. So now Shamea pulls up and she's like, look, I don't want any beef with Drew because that's Drew and Porsha's mess. And Dennis is not a part of this group. So we see them all work out with the trainer, and now the workout's done, and they're sitting down to just talk. So Drew says that she's about to be on stage soon, so she wants to be in the best shape of her life. So Shamea's asking her if she's dropping an EP or a full-blown album. And Drew says that she already has 30 songs done, and that Dennis was an advocate for her and Ralph to get back together. So now, before Shamea can respond, Angela interjects and she's like, Shamea, at your party the other night, you just blurted out, are Drew and Dennis effing? So Shamea's like, hold on now, I never said effing, like I didn't say all that. And when I tell you, Angela is here to play the Housewives game, because Miss Mamas went right into it. I said, all right, Angela, and I can't be mad at it, because on one hand, we complain about the thirsty newbies, but then on the other hand, we complain when the newbies are too quiet. And Angela is here to collect her check and keep her spot. So I can't be mad to see her stirring it up. So Angela says that she was shocked to see Shamea asking that question on behalf of Porsha. And Shamea's annoyed. She's like, I didn't ask for Porsha. I actually asked for me. Now, Angela, I'm here for you stirring things up, but I'm going to need you to stop interrupting and cutting folks off. Because this back and forth between you and Shamea, I said, girl, can you please let Shamea speak?
For her, I asked her for me. When I talked to Porsha about it, when nobody else was around.
At the party, I was there. That's what I'm bringing up. At the party. I was at the party.
I know. I'm talking
Beautiful house, mind you.
Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about, the house.
Can I just
I'm just talking about.
So you have Angela saying that Shamea is being Porsha's assistant. And I said, now, Angela, you just got into the group, okay? So not too much. So Drew says that she does low-key agree with Angela, because if you looked up the definition of a lapdog in the dictionary, you'd see Shamea's face. Now, Drew, you thought you ate with that one, but I don't think it's fair for you to say that Shamea is Porsha's lapdog. I think that that's an easy and lazy read. So now we get to the last scene of the episode, and we see Porsha and her daughter Pilar. They're out having a cute mommy-daughter play date. Now I have to say, Porsha, this look is one of my faves. I love this outfit. I love the hair. Even though Porsha annoys me with her nonsense at times, I can always give the girls their 10s, okay? And this look was it. So now we see Dennis pull up, and we have Porsha and Dennis off to the side talking. So of course, Porsha brings up this working relationship between Dennis and Drew. And Dennis clocks the BS immediately. He's like, look, we're working together. And then Porsha says something to the effect of, it doesn't look good for our crew to see you guys working together. And I said, Porsha, and how do you think it looked when everybody saw that you got with Simon the way you did? So Dennis wants to know what Drew is saying, and Portia's like, yeah, she was over there talking about you're her Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I said, when did Drew say that? All Drew said was, he's been an angel on earth, that's it. Let's not put any extra sauce on it. Nobody said anything about Dennis is her Lord and Savior. It is giving pressed about them working together, because I'm not understanding. The same woman who keeps saying, I don't care, you can work with him, marry him, F him. Now you're up here talking about, oh yeah, she's saying that you're her Lord and Savior. Like, nobody said all that. What's all this animosity for? I'm confused. You're not moving like somebody who's unbothered. Now, Dennis had me screaming when he was like, look, Drew's going through a divorce with my homeboy, and I see you with 16 marriages on TV. I said, not 16 marriages. I said, come through Beyonce, come through Cowboy Carter. I said, Dennis, you low-key ate with that. So Porsha says, I'm just upset because she's trying to film with my baby's father in my territory. So Dennis is like, well, if she's gonna use the platform to promote, then, you know, she might as well. And now Porsha cuts him off and says, don't piss me off. So anytime is not what you want to hear, now you want to have a tantrum and get pissed off. You guys are on a show showing your real life, correct? And if Dennis and Drew are working together on music, then it would make sense for Drew and Dennis to film, right? Yes, no? I'm just saying, it's not that far-fetched to think that they could film a scene or two together. Despite the optics, despite how messy it might look, it would make sense if they filmed a scene of them in the studio. Just saying. So now Porsha storms off and says that she has no expectations of Dennis other than to be a great father. And then she says, I don't know why I can't get loyalty from people. Porsha, don't play in our faces. You are the last person to talk about loyalty from anybody. I don't think that there's any self-awareness, because if there were a crumb of self-awareness, Porsha would realize how silly she sounds. So now we have Porsha in the bathroom sobbing, and the producer is asking, well, have you expressed this to Dennis? And Porsha says, I won't give him my tears. He doesn't deserve my tears. I said, all right, Porsha. I said, Porsha, and this fake soap opera acting. So now we see 20 minutes later, they're in the parking lot, and Porsha is chewing Dennis out. That man can't even get a word in. Porsha saying that this marks how he's going to look in front of his daughter. And I said, Porsha, let's not do this, because you have showed your ass on this show for years. The way we've seen you run through alleys to fight somebody, you tried to beat up your daughter's grandmother on national TV, the way you got with her soon-to-be former stepfather, Simon, not too much about how this looks in front of your daughter, because you have not been the best example either. Again, there is a huge lack of self-awareness when it comes to Porsha. But y'all, that's the end of the episode. That's my recap. As y'all can see, I had a lot to say because a lot happened. But I really think that Atlanta is about to eat. The storylines are there and the girls are working. Despite Kenya being fired, I think we might actually get something good. But again, maybe I'm just optimistic, maybe I'm naive, but I have some hope. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.